Hi, this is David Ajala, and I'm chilling with the glorious SyFy sisters.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the SyFy Sistas podcast, where we give you our point of view. I'm your host, Tamia Harper, and today I'm joined by my sister, Sabrina Wood.
Whoop, whoop.
We're missing two other sisters. We miss you, Fran and Yvette. We really wish you were here, and we love you all. But don't be too jealous, y'all. We're sitting here on the Zoom with our man. And we claimed him from 21 Jump Street. As soon as we saw him fighting Burnham on the planet, we were like, that's our brother right there. And it's none other than Mr. David Ajala. Welcome, David.
That is so sweet. Thank you. So happy to be here in your presence, conversing with you. It's a beautiful thing. Thank you. Far too kind. Appreciate you.
Thank you, too. Now, brother, we saw you on Discovery, and we literally lost our mind. I think women all across America, first of all, lost their minds. They were like, who is that?
That's a vicious rumor, damn it.
People that didn't watch Star Trek started watching Discovery.
No joke, for real.
No joke.
But we know that your acting roots run so deep. And, we know that you were part of the Royal Shakespeare Company, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so you're a trained Shakespearean actor. We have yet another Shakespearean actor in Star Trek. So, yay.
Ain't that something?
Right? Do you know about that tradition of ours in Star Trek and Shakespeare?
Yeah, and funny enough, that when I think about it, it just... Sometimes the stars just align in the most wonderful thing, in the most wonderful way. I'll repeat that. Sometimes the stars just align in the most wonderful way. I'll take y'all back to 2006. Between 2006 and 2007, I was with the Royal Shakespeare Company, and we were doing 3 different plays. One of the plays was Hamlet, and that's when I got to work with Sir Patrick Stewart.
Wow.
Sir Patrick Stewart, now known to him, because I've had this conversation with him, he was my kind of real bona fide introduction into Star Trek without me even knowing it.
Wow.
And the thing that really captured my attention is how fondly he spoke about being part of that franchise, the friends he's made, the stories he's been able to tell, and how dear the franchise is to his heart. So off the back of a few very, very casual, candid conversations, I watched little bits of Star Trek, but it wasn't anything that I kind of immersed myself into. It wasn't something I was super familiar with. Mm-hmm. But he was actually my introduction into Star Trek, into the franchise. And then cut to however many years later, I dropped him an email. And we bumped into each other as we knew we were going to see each other at the San Diego Comic-Con. And that's when I was announced that I was joining the franchise. And he just gave me such a lovely hug. He's a real one. Patrick Stewart, like he's cut from a different cloth. Wonderful guy.
So David, I want to know, who were you playing in this Hamlet that time? Who were you?
In Hamlet, I was playing Reynaldo. I was Polonius's quote unquote spy.
Yeah. Okay.
And this was my real kind of introduction. Again, as well, I spoke about an introduction into Star Trek. This was my introduction into professionally performing Shakespeare, because I did it in drama school. But this was the first time being on stage with such a world-renowned company performing such wonderful plays. It was an amazing experience.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, I've been over to Stratford-on-Avon to the area, and so you just walk over there and you're sort of like thinking about the hallowed ground and all the actors that have been on that stage and performed that same play and that same part that you played. It's just like, oh my God, I can't imagine.
It's wonderful. It feels like every time a play is performed in Stratford-upon-Avon, in whatever building or in whatever stage, there's a positive, wonderful energy, I think, that is posited on the final performance of that production. So when you walk into that auditorium, it's just filled with so much wonderful, creative energy. It's just so vibrant, and it touches your spirit. It's a really, really special place. There's no place like it, Stratford-upon-Avon.
Right. I think that's the thing about theaters. You know, they just have a vibe all their own, because, you know, when you walk on the boards, and, you know, if you've ever been in a play, even been in a school play, you know, whatever you've done, you know, you remember it, because it's something that you have to rehearse and rehearse and rehearse. And I take my hat off to all theatrical actors, because I just can't imagine doing that, you know, 6 times a week and 2 times on Sundays, and wow.
I know. You find a way. It's doing a great play. I call it the gift that keeps on giving. And no performance will ever be alike, because the audience comes in with their own energy, with their own expectations, with their own dramas, with their own invitation to witness something special.
Yeah.
You know? So when you have that melting pot of all kinds of different energies in that room, just by the very nature of it, it makes no one performance alike. And I think that's what really allows me to thrive in this industry, doing theatre. That's my roots.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I feel like theater is like more akin to jazz that way. You know, I mean, you know, with the improv, not the improvisation, but the interplay between the audience, and that you know, you don't know where somebody's going to take that solo or what choice they're going to make.
Yes.
And next thing you know, you're on a whole different trip, you know.
Because we know there's going to be a solo. We know the rhythm of jazz. And then every now and then you get
right.
Yeah.
And you get to I used to drum. So you get to play and mix up the rhythms, and knowing the rules and then being inspired to break the rules is a wonderfully exciting thing, you know. And I love the way you phrase that, because it's that's a great way to explain the experience of a live theatrical performance.
Yeah, it feels like there was a place in DC. There's a place in DC called Blues Alley. I don't know if you've ever heard, but it's one of the oldest jazz clubs in the country. And it's in Georgetown, and it's like on the water. So Georgetown used to be like the canal where, like, I mean, it was the docks. And back in the day, historically, it was where Black folks lived, and then Irish people lived. And, you know, it was the dock workers. It has these little, you know, very old, several hundred, for our country, very old, you know, like several hundred years old streets and stuff. And Blues Alley is down one of these old alleyways. And in this building, and my ex-husband, who I'm still really good friends with, he used to be the head sound engineer there, and I used to do coat check there. But I literally grew up going to that club. Some of my first live performances that I remember seeing were at Blues Alley, and it was a really stereotypical smoke-filled small jazz club. I mean, it's just amazing. And when you go into that building, still to this day, you feel the spirits there. You feel the presence of all the people who have come before, the musical greats that play. I mean, you name a musical icon, they have played Blues Alley. And it's a little room. I mean, you're talking, it's seating like not many more than 100 or so people, you know. I mean, it's a really little room.
Yeah.
You're like, the stage is here, and you're literally sitting at your dinner table right in front of the stage. People sweat for coming on to. It's fantastic. It's awesome.
Oh, that's the best.
It's the best. It's still the best experience, and one of my favorite places to see a show ever. Like, sometimes I'll just go down there. You don't know who's playing. You just go. And you find, and you're introduced to new people. But it's like, but that experience, as you were talking about, feeling the presence and of the people who came before, it's that type of place. You feel it also because this building had a history before it was a jazz club, you know, and so there's just like, it's a heavy experience. And then, it feels like every performance there is sacred. you know, and I know a lot of the performers feel that too, because I've talked about it with a lot of people, but it's just, I feel like anybody, if you get a chance to come to DC, you must go to Blues Alley. Absolutely.
I need to just find a way of just making that happen.
Yeah.
And blessing many birds with one stone, because that sounds glorious. The idea of being that close in that intimate space, it's just, and there's something about listening to blues music and jazz specifically in America and certain states in America. It just feels very authentic. The same way, forgive me for this terrible analogy, the same way there's nothing better than eating a great slice of pizza in New York City. Be it in Little Italy or, you know, Brooklyn, wherever. It's just something that just feels
You bet that one was for you.
That one was definitely for
that was for that. You don't want to get into pizza wars, but
but it's so true. I get it. You know, when you go to these places where it's originated, I think that's why so many Americans are so in love with British theater and with British actors too. You know, I mean, there's such a long history of the craft there that, you know, that people feel like, I mean, like the experience that Sabrina got to have, a lot of Americans don't get to have, you know, to go to the source. Yeah, I get that.
Absolutely. It's wonderful. And I think we have, it's very humbling to hear that. And I guess there is so much history when it comes to theatrical performances and drama in the UK. We're exposed to so much theatre just by proxy of living in London, for example.
Exactly.
There are so many theatres, from West Ends to the equivalent of off West End, to just little tiny venues that may only seat about 50 to 80 people. And being exposed to that literature at such an early stage in my career has been so beneficial, because it just opens up your creative portals to deal with any kind of text, to embrace it and to see how much value there is in this great literature. It's a wonderful thing. And then, you know, getting to work in America is it's amazing. It really, really is, because then we take that experience of being Nigerian Brit. Sometimes I'm more Nigerian than British. Sometimes I'm more British than Nigerian, how I feel. And then being able to take that over to America and, you know, play an American from whatever state. It's just a weird, wonderful melting pot of awesomeness.
So David, do they teach you that in theater school? Do they teach you the American accent? Because you guys can all seem to be able to do it, but we can't seem to go the other way.
Yeah, I mean, but look, in all fairness, like, I can't, as sweet as that is, and I could take the credit, we can't fully take the credit, because we're exposed to, as I said, we're exposed to so much literature. We're also exposed to so much American TV and film. I grew up watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. My Wife and Kids. My Wife and Kids, I can say this on record, and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air are two of my most favorite shows. Hands down. Hands down. Those are my shows. I love those shows. I love the characters. I love seeing the Black families just thriving, just being the fullness of themselves. Not perfect, but just being the fullness of themselves. Being able to embrace that experience, the experiences that they have, me being able to watch it. So because of that, when it comes to doing an American accent, we have all these voices in our heads.
Okay. We're
so familiar with it. So it doesn't feel like, oh, I need to try and learn this accent I've never heard before. We always kind of hear it. Oh, it's just, like, you just get into it, it's not even a thing, you know? You know what I mean? It's just...
I gotta say, those two shows that you talked about, like, they were part of that heyday in the 90s, you know, where we had all this amazing Black television coming at us, and some of it was really, really good, you know, and it was, like you said, the totality of our experiences that were being shown. You know, I loved Fresh Prince. I always felt like the writing on that show was just on point all the time. You know? It was never a wasted line, you know, on that show.
And that show, similar to My Wife and Kids, but I think Fresh Prince really was the trailblazer for it. as much as it was fun and humorous, round the corner, just a beat away, there was always something edifying, profound, or give you pause for thought.
Yeah.
And I thought they just had that balance so well. Uncle Phil, I think Uncle Phil was everyone's father.
Definitely.
To see a man like him with such great stature, humility, integrity was so inspiring.
Yeah.
Because you don't really see, at that time, you never really saw characters like an Uncle Phil, you know? And I don't know, that show just really had a wonderful impact on me. And the more I speak about it, the more I'm like, yeah, that's my show. I get it. That's what inspired me.
Have you had a chance to see the new rebooted Fresh Prince?
I've seen bits of it.
Yeah.
One of my guys is in it. And Jimmy Akingbola, who plays Jeffrey.
Who plays Jeffrey? Oh my God. No, that's the character. They did a switch on that character.
He's solid. And it's such a blessing that he's on that show. They're blessed to have him. He's blessed to be working with them. I've seen bits of it, but I and what they've done, they've smashed it. The direction that they've gone,
I loved it.
Very impressive.
Yeah, and I was, I don't know if they're gonna reboot Fresh Prince. What are you trying to do? But it was a real interesting take. I loved the switch they did with the Jeffrey character was deep. I'm waiting for season 2. Please give me a season 2 because I got to find out about what happened to Jeffrey.
What's happening? Season 2. I think they filmed it.
I missed it. I'm behind.
Yeah.
I was watching Discovery. Hey.
That's what we like to hear. That's right. A great answer. That's what we like to hear.
Watching Star Trek. What can I say?
It all comes back to Trek. It all comes back to Trek. And I'm going to bring it all the way back to Trek again, because in the 90s, we had Cisco. We had Avery Brooks and Sirach Lofton on Deep Space Nine showing Black love in a way that nobody else was showing. And we had, we had this man in all of his commanding presence, as a commander. And, the world wasn't ready. I mean, Trek fans, a lot of Trek fans weren't ready, but we were ready. We were there every week for this brother, no matter if the head was shaved or not, if the goatee was rocking or not. We were like, we already know. Y'all can try with the hair. You think you're going to dim his light somehow. Like, oh my God, we're afraid of the bald black man. It's too powerful.
All that shininess, too much power.
Right? And like, power. You don't even understand. Like, okay,
nevertheless.
It doesn't matter. It's Avery Brooks. He's going to bring the power, hair or no hair, dude. Have you seen him?
Another theatrical actor. Another theatrical actor, boy. Another stage.
I think on this day, like today is Juneteenth as we record this, and this is a big day in the States, and it's finally a federally recognized holiday of when the African Americans in Texas first learned that the slaves were free, that slavery had been abolished two years later, 2 years after the fact, right? And then they were, Black troops, Union troops were sent into Texas to liberate these slaves who were still in chains. And I mean, it's a big day, so when we, it just seems like every conversation that we have around our representation in these various different ways takes on more meaning for me today. Especially I was sitting here watching a couple of documentaries about Juneteenth and about our history and the systematic erasure of our history and our stories that is still ongoing. It makes your work and people who came before you, Avery Brooks and Brock Peters and the people who came before them so much more important. And we see the struggle still continues. We might be at a different place now, but it makes the work no less important. And your representation as Cleveland Booker on this show, this show particularly, on Star Trek particularly, is one that we just admire. There's a reason we love you, because you're a phenomenal actor, is what you bring to this role and this complicated man that you've brought to us on screen. Can you talk about Cleveland a little bit and maybe like a little bit of what you wanted to do with him?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, by the way. I really appreciate that. It's super sweet because you, as an actor, you never know where you're at in your personal life and what role will meet you at that moment in your life. And when I first had these conversations with the guys on Trek, I was in a place in my life where I felt a bit rebellious. And not rebellious and doing anything crazy and getting myself into trouble. I just felt just internally rebellious, and I couldn't quite articulate it beyond I just felt rebellious. And then this role came along, and when they spoke to me about Star Trek, I thought it was to join the Federation. And for me, it just wouldn't have worked because of where I was at. That just wouldn't have worked. But then they pitched this idea and they told me about this character, Cleveland Booker. And then they sent me a few pages of the script. Only 5 people on the planet had seen these pages, and I was one of them. Wow. And after reading this script, apparently I had to burn it. So I got this script, and I remember reading it and thinking, this is so cool. And I could see the direction that you guys are going with this. In my mind, I was thinking, let me have another conversation with Alex Kurtzman and Michelle Paradise, the showrunners at the time. And then we spoke, and they were just sharing some ideas with me, and it sounded really, really cool. And then I spoke to my team that represents me, and they said, well, they really would love for you to take this invitation to play this role. And I remember thinking, I'll do this role on one condition. I made a promise to myself. I'm going to allow this brother, this guy, Cleveland Booker, to be the most imperfect, perfect beautifulness of a black man there can be. So multifaceted. I wanted him to be able to have the freedom to be himself. Completely to be himself. And what really works with the character for me was this guy fully being able to be himself confidently, knowing that he's a tiny, tiny little piece in this huge ecosystem. Because what is really important to him is the preservation and survival of endangered species.
Yeah.
So having that kind of underpinning the inward confidence of this guy, I thought just worked really, really well. So he can walk into any room confidently, knowing he has something to offer. And he'll look people in the eye, knowing that you're not above me and I'm not beneath you. I'm not above you and I'm not beneath you. There was just something about that character as a black man I wanted him to have the liberty of doing. I didn't want anything that was remotely perfect to be associated with this character. I wanted him to be rugged. I wanted him to be beautifully black, perfect and imperfect. And I wanted him to find his queen without even knowing he's finding his queen. I think that's what makes the relationship between him and Burnham so special. Behind every great woman is herself. She doesn't need Cleveland Booker. However, these two just bring out the best in each other.
That's right.
Yeah, that was a great relationship, and we loved watching it build. And I'm glad that they gave it time to build, and it wasn't like, love at first sight or something crazy like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Came out punching.
Listen, it was so hostile. It was so hostile. And it was wonderful. It was such an interesting way to have two characters meet in such hostile, unfamiliar territory. And then off the back of that first encounter, they now have to kind of help each other to navigate through stuff. And then they start to naturally form a closer bond of trust just because they have to protect each other and save each other's lives from the enemy. That was it.
Because your space broke.
Right.
You know?
No, that's
I'm space broke. There were some wonderful lines that they gave my character to say, which was so much fun. There were so many. And there's so many little things that we were able to sprinkle in there that those in the know would see and know.
We knew.
We knew. We were catching all of it.
I'm telling you, as you would, you know. And I think Sonequa and myself were, we never really spoke about it much, but there was just a vibe that we had of such great respect, care for each other, that just really allowed our relationship to just flourish in front of the camera and behind the camera. You know, she is just a ray of light, an absolute joy to work with. She is lightning in the bottle, but then the bottle just smashes because you can't contain her. She's just amazing, wonderful.
In the few minutes that we got to spend with her when she came on our show, you know, it was that we felt that, you know, and that respect that you have for each other, it really comes across, you know. I mean, it's just so tangible. I think I used, we were interviewing somebody else the other day and I used the word visceral, and it's very much the same. It's so real. It's so palpable that there's no separation between the screen and the feelings, you know. It's just like we're there feeling it with you. And I mean, and we all get that. I mean, it's on both sides for both of you, you know. It's just amazing. It's beautiful. It's frankly so beautiful. It is the reason why I kept going back to Discovery. Even when I got upset with like plot lines and stuff, like, you know, like, cause I would like scream at my screen, like, wait, what's going on now? You know, like, but you guys were, for me, the underpinning, the core, that relationship. I mean, it is everything. It is everything, you know. And you said that word, like, for, you know, Cleveland Booker is fighting for, to save these endangered species. And I'd like, oh, well, who's more endangered right now than the Black person on this planet? You know, you know, we are. And that's what this role represents to me.
Yeah, it was so layered. That's so deep that was something that touched you the way it did. Because for me, it was when Sonequa and myself would rehearse these fight sequences, there was a moment whereby we would have doing these fight sequences and we made a conscious decision that we would be back to back, taking on the enemies sometimes. And there was just something about, I don't need to see you, but I know you got me.
I know you got me.
And that's when these two were still kind of hostile. But it's that unspoken thing of the bond that we have. And that's something that I just wanted to be available on screen to see. Because there's power in it, and there's so much love in it, and there's so much healing in it. And I wanted that to be available.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you guys really conveyed the whole idea that, you know, she was there for a year without the rest of the Discovery crew, in the way that you guys could talk about, you would just say one word and you knew what the other one was going to do next.
For sure.
And I love that part of it. I just love that. Are we going to do that thing that we did on, you know, Alpha 2 or whatever, you know, whatever. You're like, oh, not that again. And it was just divine. I loved it. I loved it. We all were just like, oh, these two are bonded at the hip. She knows what he's talking about, and he's going to just look at her and like, oh, girl, not again, please. No.
There's more of that in season 5.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I tell you what, that there's what's so amazing about this new season is the way it starts. There is no warm-up. I can say that much.
Okay, I was going to say, don't get us in trouble.
I love it.
Trouble.
I love it.
There is no warm-up.
We don't need a warm-up.
No warm-up.
We are still revving from the end of the last season. We're still in rev mode, so don't worry about it.
Listen,
don't warm up.
I love it.
It's straight in. There is so much adventure in this new season. There's so much fun. There's so much heart. There's so much love in it.
Oh.
Goosebumps. There are some moments that are just so richly and deeply touching. And I can't wait for y'all to watch it and experience it. I'm happy that we didn't know it was the final season when we were shooting it. Because it gave us the freedom to really be very unsentimental and just fully commit to the scene from moment to moment and whatever.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Because, I think there's something about knowing it's the...
Right.
If you're filming it and knowing it's the final season,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. For me personally, I love not knowing it was the final season because there was this great liberty of just doing it and not being too precious about certain things.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say this. The season finale has... Me personally, I think it's one of the most beautiful scenes you ever see in this franchise.
Oh my God. Are you kidding? Like my heart right now, dude.
I know, and that's saying a lot because after season 4, when we thought you were gone, and
jeez,
all of us were feeling for Burnham. We were all wanting to just hug Burnham because we were like, Burnham is not going to be able to deal if this is the truth. This can't be right. He's like, sisters all over the world were wanting to, hug Captain Burnham. Like, no, girl, hang on.
Mm-hmm.
But couldn't do it to us. We were like, oh, thank you.
See, now you... Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, off the back of that, when we were having the table read season 4 for that episode, I remember when the whole cast were reading it, there was a massive gasp because everyone thought, oh, no! Oh! It was such a moment. And then, to see Cleveland Booker come back and then Burnham embrace them, they embraced each other. It was, even on the page, just reading it was special. But then shooting it felt like, it felt cool and it was great to do. But watching it kind of caught me off guard a little bit. Yeah.
I cannot wait, dude. I cannot wait for I can wait because I have to, and I'm powerless over the situation. But inside, I'm like, come on already, give it to me. Let's go. But I don't want it either because I know it's going to be my final season, but,
right.
But so we're telling everybody from Discovery that, we absolutely adore you. And just like, when we got the pleasure of seeing each other at Trek Long Island and we were talking to the audience and, before you guys came on stage, we were letting them know this is our opportunity to let you all know how deeply you're loved and how much you're appreciated. And, and how important this show is to us. And cancellation or no cancellation, it stands as one of the most important Trek shows of all time. Discovery is amazing, and it's so important to so many of us. And then I'm looking at the generation younger than me, and I'm seeing my Deep Space Nine experience happen with them on Discovery. It's almost identical, from the haters, because Avery Brooks and that black lead, they got all that hate. And then everybody's like, oh, you like Deep Space Nine just because he's black. Number one, you're right. Number two, it's a phenomenal show. And if you had half a brain, you would be in love with it too. And that's the way I feel about, Disco and Deep Space Nine it was ahead of its time. And I feel like Disco in a lot of ways is ahead of its time for us older fans. It's perfect for the age group right behind me. It's telling stories in the way that they want these stories to be told and that they're getting. So this is their Trek. And they're seeing themselves in this Trek. It's so important, this show.
Right.
Yeah. I had no question in there. I just want you to know. We know. We love you.
No, I appreciate you so much for sharing that wholesomeness, that kindness. Because I think when we're watching a show like Star Trek Discovery specifically, we want to see ourselves in there or a version of ourselves that is tangible, that we aspire to, together everyone achieves more. That there's something very exciting about that. I wanted, again, going back to Cleveland Booker, what was very important to me was I grew up in London, Hackney. Hackney is the equivalent of like a Brooklyn in New York.
Okay.
And with certain parts of Brooklyn were quite rough, but rough is all subjective.
Right.
And in Hackney, because we knew the lay of the land, what may have been rough to someone else was just part and parcel of just living in this area, but we knew how to kind of navigate it. And then Hackney became very, very gentrified. So whenever I'm on the show or in space, there's little things that a character has that people who grew up in the same area as myself would see this character, would see certain things, and know that they're here with me in space.
Yeah,
that's for them.
Right.
Those little moments mean more to me than anything else, because those are my people. We came from the same neck of the woods. I just so happen to be in this position doing this, but I want you guys to know I see you, and I want the world to see you, even though they can't see you directly, but through me in space.
Right.
That's really important for me.
See, that's why we mess with you.
Because listen, that for me means a lot. It really does. It means a lot for me because it's the fabric and the DNA of who I am. And I think it's what allows me to be able to navigate this space and this world and this industry in a very, very grounded, healthy way.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. And so can we go back before, because I know our time is about to run out, and we had hinted, I'm just switching gears completely. We had talked just a minute before we got started recording about this early performance career of yours. And were you in a boy band? What was this?
That's
what
right.
was going on? No way. Were you guys like British New Edition or something?
Kinda, but cooler. And without the singing, I used to love dancing, body popping, street dance, acrobatics, and it was a boy group. It was 5 of us, and we used to tour around different parts of the UK and battle. So if I weren't an actor, it's likely I would have done dancing for however long or been a musician. But there's something about dancing to this day that I'm so grateful for, because it kind of just gives me a physical freedom and an awareness over my body, which I find super helpful. Yeah. So those that know me when we're working, they know me that, and I don't do it for any reason other than just I'm enjoying myself. I love to dance on set.
Oh, love sweet.
It. You got to get on the cruise,
love it. I don't do it to draw attention to myself. I couldn't care less. I love the freedom of being able to dance. You know,
you got to get you on the cruise so you can get on the dance floor with the rest of the.
I'll say this: stranger things have happened. You may just see me on the cruise.
Oh my God!
Oh my God! Listen, with the
SyFy sister circles in a snap of it.
They had there was the dance. What was it? The thing for Ken Mitchell. And
the rave.
The rave.
Yeah, I heard about
oh my God! Yeah, we got some tape of that, but that's kind of the tape that we are not sending out. But the disco cast, y'all, they danced the whole rave. I mean, Sonequa, everybody. It was the most joyous thing I ever saw. The whole group was dancing around Ken. Everybody was just going crazy. And I think that's a dancing cast right there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm going to out myself. I'm going to out myself and let everybody know that I'm that one black person that's not a good dancer. Like I've got my 2-step. I got maybe
Indian blood or something with that.
It might be the Indian. It might be it can't be the Filipino blood. It's definitely my Indian blood, because the Filipino, I'm Native American, Filipino, and black. Native American, Filipino, and black. So, like, my father was a black Jew. My mom is Native American and Filipino. It's definitely from the Native American side, because the rhythms are really super simplistic. They're not it's not polyrhythmic. But Filipinos be holding it down, right? So it's not the Filipino side.
I was about to say, because I've seen and battled many Filipino dancers.
Thank you.
Who have been amazing. Like, the levels are supreme. But I'll say this. What is even good dancing? I think it's all subjective. Let's just start there.
This is true.
Let's not get too crazy with this. Let's say that may not be a
I,
good
I
dancer. It's
was
so
I was
subjective.
with her when we were dancing, and she was having a pretty good time. So
Go.
I just think
in
You
that
ain't hurt
statement.
nobody.
right. Well, when I get reincarnated, I want to.
Uh-huh.
I have begged for this my whole life. When I get reincarnated, I want to come back as a dancer. Like I want to be a professional dancer on my next life.
Why not?
Huh?
Why not? You
Why
deserve it.
not? Yeah, why not? You know, like right now, these 52-year-old hips ain't going to be like getting that limber, but you know, I mean, they might get a little bit more limber than they are at the moment, but they're not going to be, you know, but I just love dance, and I think it's just such a all forms of dance. And I love, and I'm so in awe of dancers, and I'm so in awe of people whose bodies move the way that they tell their bodies to move. My body does not move the way I tell it to. I can tell it to do all sorts of cool stuff. And
it won't listen.
No, not even close.
It won't listen.
My body's just straight up laughing like,
what's wrong with you?
That sounds about right. But at least the mind is willing. The body's just doing its own thing. The body's just figuring it out.
Right, exactly.
But soon the synergy will be correct. You know, you're both aligning yourselves, and then you'll be good to go. And then you'll be able to be that amazing dancer in this lifetime instead of having to wait for the next lifetime.
True that. Okay. All right. I'm gonna
True that.
I'm gonna take that positivity and run with that one. I just think that's super cool, man. It's like performing. It seems like you've always been a little performer.
One way or another, yeah. I think so. It was I think it was just at the age of like 15, just having too much kind of bouncy energy and needing a way to channel it somehow. Fell into dance, fell into kind of acting, and just started to enjoy it. To really, really enjoy it. And I think the enjoyment allowed me to invest in it, to just kind of harness my skills and just work on my craft, and to, you know, just to be a good craftsman at what I do. It was the enjoyment of it and the infinite possibilities of, oh man, I could actually make this work. And as I'm doing this and enjoying this, I'm learning so much about myself. I'm building my own confidence. I'm able to show so much more empathy to myself, to other people. I think it's wonderful. It was quite a cathartic experience without me even knowing at the time.
Right. Yeah. I got another question. Do you still have a drum set?
I do. But I need to take it out. It's in a suitcase in the garage or the garage. Y'all say garage.
We say garage, yeah.
Garage,
not garage.
Garage. I got to get to my garage right now. So it's downstairs. So I need to take it out of the suitcase and just set it up. Because if it's in a suitcase, I ain't going to play it. But if it's set up there with the sticks next to the drum kit, then I'm more likely.
All right.
I was married to a drummer, so yes. And when we were dating, when we were courting, when we were going a courting, my courtship consisted of me carrying a bunch of his gear in and out of gigs. Like everybody was like, "Oh, you're much nicer than I was."
That's love.
Oh my God, yeah. That's how you knew it was deep, because I was carrying
That's
those.
why I had to go for an electric drum kit, because the acoustic drums that's just a lot of equipment. I've got an electric drum kit downstairs.
Nice.
Yeah.
See, that's easy. The electric drum kits, it's so much easier. All that hardware, like people think like you see the drums set up on stage and you don't realize how heavy all that hardware is to support those drum kits. It's really heavy.
Yeah.
That's why the drums are already set up on stage, because it takes a minute.
True. It's true. And to tune it and to make sure that the cymbals are right, well positioned. But funny enough, having this conversation has just reminded me that I need to get that drum kit out of the suitcase.
Out of your garage.
Just have it there. Just put it set up. Get it out of the garage. The garage.
I'm used to hearing that accent. But if you do that, I'll get my piano out of the closet. I got to keep it in the closet.
Piano.
No. That's no problem. After years of piano lessons, she still doesn't play the piano. It's like, to me, it said she wanted to come back as a dancer. I want to actually relearn to play this piano before I die in this life. It's one
Why
of my,
not?
50 things to do before I die. So okay,
I,
I understand that the drums are in the garage and my 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 piano is sitting in the closet. So we can both break it out.
so
Break it out.
here
Let's
in
get them
this
out.
moment, let's make the commitment to try and do
Yes,
that
yes, yeah. It's
before the end of the year.
Okay.
before the end of the week.
For me, before the end of the month. Before the end of the month.
Okay.
That's a
All
little.
right.
Okay, so if you guys make the commitment, you're going to get the drum kits out. You're going to get the piano out. I'm going to get out the pen.
Ah.
All right. And I
Okay.
will write. If you're going to drum and you're going to play, I will write. And that's our creative commitment to one another. And you know what? We're going to check back with you on Instagram or Twitter and be like, are you doing it?
I want pictures.
Absolutely. Please hold me accountable as I'll hold the two of you accountable in the healthiest, wonderful way.
That's perfect.
Ding,
That's
ding,
like,
ding, 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 ding,
yay,
ding, ding,
support
ding.
y'all.
I took drums for 1 year. I loved them. The girls didn't play the drums, so they switched me.
Oh,
Yeah,
that was back in the day. Yeah.
yeah. And so, like, all the kids in, like, fourth grade could play the drum. We played it on the desk, and you got a drumstick. My brother really played the drum. My brother played the drums for a little while. So I had his drumstick. So I was like, nah, I got drumsticks, So I was playing.
You can always switch from the piano to the drums.
That is also true.
I love the piano, though. I love the piano. I've always loved watching people play the piano and wanted to play the piano.
Me too.
Yeah.
I've always loved, and I still love watching people play the piano.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's in me to be able to do it. I won't rule it out, but I love watching people play the piano. Something so wonderful and relaxing about
it. So true. It's so true. I got to see Ahmad Jamal at Blues Alley, going back to Blues Alley. What a beautiful, wonderful show. We got to go to Blues Alley. I'm just telling you.
Blues Alley. I would love to. I would absolutely love to.
It's like this all brick, like below, like it's like you go down the steps and it's this little room and the chairs and tables are really tight in between each other. Yeah. Like Mary Wilson, that was her favorite place to play. Like, so my mom was best friends with Mary Wilson from the Supremes. Like that was her best friend. And like when Aunt Mary would come every year and play Blues Alley, and it was still one of her, it was like she's playing all over the world, right? And it was still like her favorite place to play because it was so intimate. Home court, yeah. So intimate.
What a place.
Yeah.
What a place.
And, those places aren't around anymore because, Boston had Paul's Mall. We had a place like that. And it's all gone, all torn down, so for this to still be there.
That's incredible. Long may it continue. Yeah. Places like that need to be protected.
Yeah. Absolutely.
At every cost.
And we almost lost it last year. They had a fire in there. And so we thought that it might be the end of Blues Alley, but it wasn't. Thank God. And yeah.
Long
What were you going to say, David? You were going to say something.
Yeah, and long live David Ajala, man.
Yay!
What a joy. And
he's a king.
He's a king. He's a king.
Y'all the queens.
And Grudge is our queen too. Like we love Grudge.
She's a queen.
She is a queen. And
we will see more Grudge in season 5.
Sweet.
Yes, we will.
Thank you, because there was not enough Grudge in season 4 for me.
There's never enough Grudge, but we will be seeing her. She's very mischievous. It has to be said. But she is so much fun. She is so much fun, and I think they were excited to just open up and develop the character a little bit.
Great.
So we'll see a bit more Grudge.
I mean, I had all these questions for you, like at Trek Long Island. I was going to ask you a bunch of questions too, but you know what? Next time, because we'll
do a part 2.
Yeah,
we'll definitely do a part 2. Yeah. We could do a part 2 in the middle of season 5.
Oh, in the middle,
at the beginning of season 5 or the end. So whatever works for y'all. In my mind, I always knew that we'll kind of do 2 parts. So you just let me know, and then we'll make it happen. I think it'll be lovely.
I think it would be so cool. Yeah, it'd be great because I want to talk to you about all the things, all these aspects of book that, that you've sprinkled in you know, that goes into the seasoning, the roux of book, and like, how much are we gonna get? Like, are we gonna be able to taste the finished product? You know, there's all these different storylines that we could, you know, for book stories. So yeah, we have a lot more to talk about.
There is at the end of season 4 and at the beginning of season 5, there's so much growth in this character. But what I love about this man is, come what may, he'll always have a twinkle in his eye of maybe something special is about to happen. That's what I love about that character.
Yeah,
it's his tenacity, his resilience, and his anticipation that good things still exist and good things can still happen to him.
Oh, I love it. I love it. You know, because we need that right now. We need that.
Absolutely. Ooh. It's very important.
Yeah.
Very important. And you will see that there are some moments in this season, the new season, that are very healing for the character. And to see a character healing from moment to moment, from moment to moment, almost in real time on screen, is profoundly touching.
I'm glad. Because I tell you, because I think the scenes that you had when you were interacting with the memory of your father in season 4 were some of the deepest ones. I had that one character. I was just like, oh, how could they bring such a relationship and this character in? And it just gave us just a taste of it, and we didn't get it all. Yeah. Like, I wanted to hear more.
I'm just pushing for Book's show. I want Book to have his own show, period.
You're going to spin off anything.
You know, everybody talking about legacy track, whatever. Okay, I want Book's show. Like, I mean, that's all nice and fine, but that's kind of rehashing. So
I hear something a little different.
Yeah.
Come what may, there would be so much adventure and fun in this new season. So much. And every character goes on a journey as they're supposed to.
That's lovely.
We're meant to change.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to get their closure.
Being the better versions of ourselves is wonderful to see. And I can't wait for y'all to see it.
We can't wait to see it.
Then we can really, really talk.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's it.
You'll do a David, deep dive.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. Sabrina, you want to let folks know where they can get in touch with us if they want to tell us how much they're anticipating season 5? I know.
We're going to get all kinds of anticipation. You can find the SyFy Sisters at SyFysisters.com. That's SyFysistas.com. Or you can join us on the mothership. That's MUTHASHIP. And the SyFy Sisters Book Club, both on Facebook. On Instagram and TikTok, we are the SyFy.Sisters. And we're also on the Twitter at SyFy Sisters. Become a patron of SyFy Sisters today at patreon.com/SyFy Sisters. And the Trek Geek Network's presenting sponsor is Fansets. So go to fansets.com for pinned memorabilia from all your favorite franchises. Visit fansets.com and use Trek Geeks, all caps, for your exclusive 10% discount. After listening to this podcast, please rate us and write a review. We just may read it on an upcoming episode.
And we have to say one more shout out to the baddest engineer in any and all universes. That's to Dose the Anonymous One. He's responsible for all the music you hear on our program, as well as our engineering services. And if you are in need, check the brother out at Dose_the_Anonymous_1 on Instagram. We love you, Dose. And we love you all for listening. Thank you very much. And until next time, peace, love, and hair grease, peoples.
Bye.